You talked about the woke mind virus, and I was wondering if you could decipher this tweet of yours for me.
It is a prevalent mind virus, and arguably one of the biggest threats to modern civilization.
You're working on some of those problems, but the problem of wokeness specifically, you mentioned that's like a mind virus, and it's destructive. And why do you think wokeness is so destructive?
I'd be interested in your opinions too, but generally, I think we should be aiming for like a positive society, and that it should be okay to be humorous. We should wokeness basically wants to make comedy illegal, which is not cool.
We've experienced a little bit of that.
I mean, Chappelle, trying to shut down Chappelle. Come on, man, that's crazy. So do we want a humorless society that is simply rife with condemnation and hate, basically?
And no forgiveness, right?
Yeah. At its heart, wokeness is divisive, exclusionary, and hateful. It basically gives mean people a reason. It gives them a shield to be mean and cruel, armored in false virtue. What do you think?
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously seen that from the left, just ourselves. The left is almost this religion now, where they're so serious and they believe what they believe with such intensity that for us to make fun of them, for them it's like you're making fun of God or salvation, So they're almost the new religious right, in our view.
Yeah.
He agreed with me. Everybody take note. Well, you were pretty mean to Senator Warren, though, on Twitter recently. You slammed her, man. Please don't call the manager on me, Senator Karen.
She struck first, obviously.
Right.
Yes, she did.
She called me a freeloader
Yeah.
and a grifter who doesn't pay taxes, basically. And I'm literally paying the most tax that any individual in history has ever paid this year, ever. And she doesn't pay taxes, basically at all. And her salary is paid for by the taxpayer.
Could you even use use TurboTax? Would that even work?
If you could die by irony, she would be dead. If irony could kill.
What would happen if you walked into an H&R Block to file your taxes? Could they handle your case?
My taxes are actually not that complicated. I do not have any offshore accounts. I don't have any tax shelters. I have basically Tesla and SpaceX stock, and Tesla is publicly traded, so all information is public. And SpaceX is, a C corp that is audited. It has outside auditors, so it'll with outside investors. So everything is extremely transparent. There are no elaborate sort of tax avoidance schemes or anything like that. So H&R Block could easily do my taxes. I don't need H&R Block. I could do it.
Yeah.
It would probably take me a few hours to do my taxes. It's very basic.
Did you sell that stock in Tesla because of the Twitter poll?
In part.
Had you made up your mind that you were already going to do that before the Twitter poll?
I have some Tesla options that are expiring next year, so I needed to exercise those options no matter what. And I was like, okay, I'll move forward and exercise those options. So that certainly would be part of it no matter what. But then over and above that, I sold incremental stock, try to get up to the 10% level. So just the option exercise alone would not get to 10%. So I sold stock that should be roughly make my total Tesla share sale roughly 10%. Essentially all of my net worth is just in SpaceX and Tesla stock. These two companies that I helped create and have run for now almost 20 years have done a lot of useful things. SpaceX launches more payload to orbit than the rest of the world combined, and has a global internet system called Starlink, and is the primary provider, the only U.S. provider of astronaut transport to the space station.
We publish 6 to 8 satire articles a day.
Yeah.
Some of them are funny. So that's, pretty good.
So SpaceX, transports U.S. And as well as non-U.S. Astronauts to the space station that was previously the U.S. was dependent on Russia, who was doing a good job, but charging kind of crazy money per seat. So with SpaceX, the cost per astronaut dropped dramatically, and the money was went to jobs in the U.S. So that's why people think SpaceX is valuable. Tesla.
The annoyance though of people holding it against you that you've had success, holding it against you that you have wealth, viewing billionaires as evil, and you're not doing enough to give back. You have like the Elizabeth Warren thing that you haven't paid your fair share. I mean, that's that's got to be kind of aggravating.
Yeah, I think it's just important to understand like what is this wealth? It's not like I've got like some massive cash balance. My cash balances are very, very low, and at least until I sold stock, which is really the first time I've actually sold stock in any meaningful way, was this quarter. I simply had loans against my stock. So if Tesla and SpaceX went bankrupt, I would go bankrupt too immediately. So
it's not realized, is what you're saying. Yeah, it's not.
No, it's just like people. It's like I built these two companies, and it was extremely difficult to build them, like massively painful and difficult, rewarding too, but massively painful and difficult. And I didn't sell the stock in the companies. My sort of impression was that you shouldn't take money off the table, or you shouldn't take stock off the table and de-risk things. That a captain should go down with their ship. So it's like, okay, like I don't want to take money off the table, and then if the companies fail, then I'll be sort of enriched while investors suffer, and that does not seem right. So anyway, that's the reason I didn't sell. Is I could easily have diversified and protected myself financially if SpaceX or Tesla went bankrupt, but I did not. SpaceX and Tesla came very close to bankruptcy many times. Even when bankruptcy was literally weeks away, I did not sell stock. And then the companies became valuable. Not Tesla's value and SpaceX's value is not up to me. It's up to investors. And they decided Tesla was worth $1 trillion in the public market. And I own 20% of the company. So
you're not apologizing right now. You're not going to look into the camera and say, "I'm so sorry."
Look in the camera right now.
I'm just trying to explain. I don't think people necessarily understand.
They don't. Yeah.
This is not some function of sort of hoarding or something. It's simply that I own 20% of the company that became very valuable as decided by external investors. And so 20% of $1 trillion valuation is $200 billion. And I've said at various times that I think the stock price is too high, but the investors just ignored that. I'm like, okay, I literally said it's too high. And they just kept making that price higher. So I'm like,
tell them our value is too high.
So anyway, so it's just but like I said, this is not like my so-called wealth. It's not some deep mystery. It's simply what is my ownership percentage of SpaceX and Tesla, multiply that by the valuation, that's my net worth. It's super simple, and my taxes are super simple. And I have no offshore accounts, no sort of clever tax evasion or anything like that. And I don't draw a salary or any cash salary or bonus from the companies at all. And I thought that was like morally good to not do that. Like there was one year, I think 2018, where I didn't pay any tax, but that's because I didn't have any income. But I did have a little bit of income, but I'd actually overpaid taxes, I think in 2017. So I paid too much tax. And so I basically netted that out in 2018 because I paid too much tax in 2017, right. By accidentally. Unless you sell stock, there are no realized gains. So then I was like, well, should I sell? What am I supposed to do? Send shares to the government somehow? I don't know if you can even do that.
Yeah.
So then I was like, well, unless I sell shares, there's no actual mechanism to pay tax. So then I was like, well, should I sell 10%, in order to pay tax? And I sort of asked Twitter, and they're like, on balance, they said yes. And so I sold enough stock to get to around 10% plus the option exercise stuff. And I try to be extremely literal, so that you don't generally need to read between the lines. You can just read the lines.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to get new videos.